All right, so this is lesson 4.2 on using the Pythagorean theorem to calculate the diagonal of a rectangle or a square. So the definition of a square, remember, is that all four sides are equal and the corners are all 90 degrees. Does that sound familiar? And then a rectangle just has four 90-degree angles. Okay. Now, when it says calculate the diagonals, what we're doing is we're looking at this. This is a diagonal, and this is a diagonal. You could also look at this one. Whatever, either is fine. The interesting thing is that the rectangle's diagonals will be the same, and the square's diagonals will be the same. So you can find either one. They'll be the same length. Okay. Now, yesterday we were talking, not yesterday, sorry, in 4.1, we were talking about the Pythagorean theorem, which only works for right triangles. So it said, oops, this says how it should say now. Let's add an auxiliary. Auxiliary means extra lines to make some triangles. So up top, I already did this, but I marked this guy here and then this guy here. So when we look at these, what we've made is we've made two right triangles. So it says, what type of triangles are they? They are right triangles. Is everybody still with me so far? When I say we've created those, like here.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we've created these right triangles. And then I also wrote yesterday on here, but it's really just like the previous lesson. We said that the Pythagorean theorem, THM is short for theorem. The Pythagorean theorem only works on what kind of triangles, you guys? You remember? It only works on right triangles. So like these. That's the only kind it works on. So that's what we're going to use to find those diagonals. All right, so it says in a rectangle with a base of 15 inches, a height of 5 inches, find the perimeter, area, and the diagonal. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a rectangle, just kind of how I picture a rectangle. Is this how most of you guys picture a rectangle also? Yeah, okay. So it says a base of 15 inches and a height of 5 inches. Well, if those two numbers are on there, what is this length going to be? Up top. You guys can speak too. Yes, it's going to be 15. So this is going to be 15. And what's this one going to be? Good. So in my opinion, the two easy things to find are the perimeter first in this situation, the area second, and then the diagonal is kind of the like one. So remember, perimeter means to add up all the outsides. So that would be 15 plus 5 plus 15 plus 5. Or 20 plus 20, which is 40. And that is just inches. Okay, so done. We did the perimeter. Do you guys remember how we find the area of a rectangle? What do we do to find the area of a rectangle? Okay, area of a rectangle is base times height. So it's 15 times 5. 10 times 5 is 50. 5 times 5, I can just type this in if you guys want. Oops. We get 75. and that is inches squared because it's area. All right, now here's where we got to do some hard work, a little more heavy lifting. So with this one, we're trying to find this diagonal. That's what this is. But now do you notice we've got a right triangle here? Because remember, rectangles have corners like that. So do you remember, this is actually really important, you guys. Do you remember what letter we use for this one? A, B, or C? Oh, got it. Yes, okay, sorry, I was just trying to make sense of it. Yes, you're good. So we need to use a C for this one. So the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I would say like these two are interchangeable, doesn't matter. Those are a and b, doesn't matter. So we've got 5 squared plus 15 squared equals c squared. That's our diagonal. That's the diagonal we're looking for. See how it's orange and that's orange? That was the point of that. 5 squared is 25. 15 squared is 225. If you have 225 and then you get another quarter, you have $2.50. And then from 4.1, what's the last move that we make in the Pythagorean theorem when we're solving? The last move every time. Okay, last move is always to square root. So square root 250 is 15.81. Round to the 1 decimal spot. So since it's 8.1, it stays as just 8. It's really important, you guys, that you understand what we do as we go through these sections because they build on each other. It's not like just learn something and forget it the next day. As you can see, 4.1 is super, super, super important in this section, okay? You really got to understand that. And if you don't, that's okay. We just need to talk about it a little bit more. So our diagonal is 15.8 inches. So done with that one too. All right. So the next one says, in a rectangle with a height of 4 inches, a diagonal of 12 inches, find the base. All right, so this time we have a rectangle, a height of 4 inches, a diagonal of 12 inches. They want us to find the base. And then they also want us to find the perimeter and area. So perimeter, area, and then base. Now, slight problem is we can't find the perimeter and area because we don't have the outsides. But we have a right triangle. So this 12 is going to be C. So we're going to go 12 squared. Do you guys want 4 to be A or B? It doesn't matter. Do you want it to be A or B? Don't care. A? All right. So we'll go 4 squared plus B squared. All right, 4 squared means 4 times 4, which is 16. Plus B squared equals 12 squared, or 12 times 12. $144. Okay, who can tell me what we do next? What do we do next? Good, we're going to minus 16. So 144 minus 16 is 128. And then you guys, what's the last step every time? Good, square root. So this move in blue is square root. So when we do that, We get 11.31. Since it's a 1, it's going to stay 11.3. So the base is 11.3 inches. We did that. 11.3. Then do you agree that would be 11.3 as well, you guys? You okay with that? And then this one's 4. So in our calculator, we could do 11.3 times 2 plus 4 times 2, just because it's less to type. And we get 30.6 for our perimeter. We just added 4 plus 4 plus. I already forgot. 30.6 inches. And then for our area, we do 4 times 11.3. Whoops. 45.2 inches squared. All right, so we got the area then also. So we're all good then. So there's some questions like this on the quiz about the rectangles. And then these ones are where it gets a little bit extra tricky. Okay, so there's just one little thing that's a little weird when it's a square like this. And I'll make sure that I point it out. I'll highlight the odd piece. So they want us to find the area and the perimeter of the square. Also, they want us to find the sides. So we need to make sure we find the side before we do anything else. So it says it's a square, okay? When we have a square, it's going to look like this. All the sides are equal. And then when we divide that, and it says it has a diagonal of 25 centimeters, this is 25. I'm just going to pause there. Are we okay so far? Okay, so then normally in a triangle, what we have is A and B, right? But I need some feedback from you guys on this. Actually, I need to make sure you're actually still here, and I need you to answer my questions, because this is where it gets tricky. And if you don't say anything, I feel like I'm talking to a wall, and I don't know if anyone needs help, okay? So in a square, all the sides are the same. So it would be a really bad idea for us to give these two different names. It would be a bad idea for us to give it two different names. So I'm going to choose, instead, I'm going to just call both of them A, because they are the same length. They are the same. Does this make sense or not?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just picked A because why not? I don't care what letter you guys use. So the Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? That's what we start out with. What is c in this case? Good. C is 25. And then, now look carefully. What is b in this case? What is b in this case? This is what's tricky about it. I'm going to call this the blue A. B squared is like the blue A. And then A squared is just the normal straight up A squared like that. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to pause and look at that. Do you understand where those three pieces came from?
Mumtaz is asking why, and I'm assuming it's why is the b squared B?
The B turning into a blue A. Is that your question, Mumtaz? Okay, that's because in a square, the sides are all the same. So I don't want to call it two different things. I don't want to call it A and B. I want to call it the same thing. I picked A because I like the letter A. If you want to pick T, you can pick T. If you want to pick M, you can pick M. The point is they need to be the same. These two need to be the same. Because a square, this is equal, 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 equal. Does that make sense? Okay. So I guess my key or my trick would be when you see a square, blah, 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 you're going to have this. This will be what you put at the beginning each time. So we have 2a squareds, right? We have 2 of those. So 2a squareds equals 25 squared, which is 625. So this is the weird part. This is the part that gets people tripped up. And then from here, we can just drop our line and solve. So we would divide by 2, divide by 2. So a squared equals 625 divided by 2, 312.5. And then our last move is always to square root. So 17.7. We'll round that up because it's 6.7. So it's going to round up to 17.7. So our side is 17.7. So that means this, 17.7. So is this, so is this, so is this. So area is going to be 17.7 times 17.7. Which is 313.29. If anyone's like really catching on to this, one thing you'll notice is it actually, technically the area would be this because it would be a squared. We can talk about that later, but it's a times a, which is a squared. But whatever, this is what will be just fine on the quiz. And then the perimeter is going to be 17.7 plus 17.7 plus 17, blah, blah, blah. That's a lot. I'm just going to do it times 4 because that's a lot to type in. So 70.8. Now, that's okay. I'm recording, so you can watch it later. That's fine, Hybo. One thing I will tell you guys, if you round wrong right here, it's going to probably make those wrong on your quiz. So make sure you understand rounding. If you don't, stay after today to make sure it's clarified for you, okay? All right. I think there is... I might do this one and we'll see how we feel after this one's done, okay? So here we have a square. We have a square, which means we're going to have that weird piece right here that I mentioned. But a square is like this. It's got all equal sides. A diagonal of 16. We want to do the same thing. Find the side, the perimeter, and the area. Okay, so somebody pick a letter. What do we want to use for our side? Don't care. Any letter. G. Great. So if we use a G here, then this is also a G because they're going to be the same length. They're the same exact thing. So normally our Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, c is 16. So we're going to go 16 squared equals. And then are you guys cool with this being g squared plus g squared? Because those are the two sides of the right triangle. So then we get 2g squareds equals 16 squared, 256. And then we drop our line and solve. So divide by 2, divide by 2 is 128. So we get g squared equals 128. And then the last step is always to square root both sides. So I'm going to ask you guys in the chat, here's the number that comes out. Before you guys have to take your quiz by yourself and figure out how to round correctly, if I ask you to round to 1 decimal spot, that means the first spot after the dot. In the chat, I want you to type right now, but don't hit enter yet. I want you to type what you think the rounding would be. So what would your answer be to 1 decimal spot? What would you put on the quiz? So type it, but do not hit enter yet. Okay, on 3, I want you guys to hit enter. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Mubarak, just the 3. So like Javaris and Mumtaz have, it's going to be that 11.3. You just went 1 extra. Usually I have you go 2 spots, Mubarak, but this time I'm not, just to make it easier. The reason it's a 3 is because, do you see this second number right here, this 1? That's less than halfway, so we keep it as a 3. So our side is 11.3. Our perimeter is going to be 11.3 times 4, because there's 4 of those, which is 45.2. These are meters. This is meters. And then last is the area. So area is 11.3 times 11.3. It's the 2 sides multiplied. $127.69. Now, on the quiz, if it said go to 1 decimal spot, what would this be? If I asked you to do to 1 decimal spot, what would you put right there?
A 6.
So I understand why you said that, but if you look at that guy, that's over halfway. So you'd want to bump this one up 1. So
7.
Yeah, so you'd make it into a 7, exactly. Okay, there's one last one I think I'll go through with you because we got through that one pretty quickly. The last one's about a rectangle, or a rectangular rug, I believe. So here it says, find the area and perimeter of a rectangular rug if the width is 12 feet and the diagonal measures 20. So these are some of the word problems that might show up. So you got a rug. Here's the edge of the rug. Like that. Width is 12. Diagonal is 20. I don't know. This looks shorter in my picture, but I don't know if it's actually shorter. So let's just trust the math. That's just how I drew it. Okay. And they want us to find the perimeter and the area. But that means we must find the other side, which is like the height. So we got to find this. Well, it's a rectangle, so we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So normally it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. What is c squared for us, you guys? What is c? 20. 12 is just a or b. It's one or the other. I'll just go like 12 here. And then we can just do, if you want to do a squared, you can, or whatever. You can change it to h. Doesn't matter. So a squared, you just need like a letter to hold the spot for the unknown number. It's called a variable. 20 times 20 is 400 minus 144. It's 256. So a squared equals 256. And then what's our last step every time when we are doing the Pythagorean theorem? Square root. 16. All right. So a is 16. That means the height of the rug is 16 feet. So my picture is bad, but it's fine. You can trust your math, okay? So that means this is 16 also, and this is 12. So for perimeter, we would do 12 plus 12 plus 16 plus 16. And we'd get 56. That's a big rug. And then the area, we're going to do 16 times 12. $192 feet squared. Yeah. 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 Okay. All right, I'm going to pause the recording.